The shovel hit hard desert ground with a dull thud that echoed across the empty canyon, and Sarah Garrett knew she had maybe 20 minutes of strength left before her body gave out completely. The California sun beat down mercilessly on the rocky terrain outside Colfax in the summer of 1884, and every muscle in her 22-year-old frame screamed in protest as she drove the metal blade deeper into the unforgiving earth. Her hands, once soft and carefully tended, were now blistered and bleeding, the skin torn away to reveal raw flesh beneath. She had stopped feeling the pain an hour ago. Now there was only the mechanical motion of digging, lifting, throwing aside the dirt. Digging the hole that would become her grave, she had thought about other ways to end it. The laudanum bottle she had seen in the general store, the cliff face 3 miles back. But those methods seemed either too slow or too violent, and in her exhausted, desperate state, this had made the most sense. Dig deep enough, lie down, and let the desert heat finish what her broken heart and empty stomach had started. No one would miss her. No one even knew she existed out here. Her family back in Missouri thought she had died 2 years ago when cholera swept through their town. She had let them believe it, had run away with Thomas, had believed every lie that had poured from his mouth like honey. And now Thomas was dead, shot in a poker game gone wrong 3 weeks ago, leaving her with nothing but debts she could not pay and men who wanted payment in ways that made her skin crawl. The hole was nearly 3 feet deep now. Deep enough, she thought. Her arms trembled as she raised the shovel one more time. Put down the shovel and come here. The voice came from behind her, deep and commanding, and Sarah spun around so fast she nearly fell into her own grave. A man sat astride a chestnut horse about 30 feet away, his silhouette dark against the bright sky. He wore a worn brown hat, dusty traveling clothes, and had the weathered look of someone who spent every day under the sun. His face was hard to make out in the glare, but his posture suggested someone used to being obeyed. "Go away," Sarah said, her voice hoarse from thirst and crying. "This does not concern you." A woman digging a grave in the middle of nowhere concerns every decent person who happens across it, the cowboy said. He dismounted in one fluid motion, moving with the easy grace of someone completely comfortable in his own body. As he walked closer, Sarah could make out more details. He was perhaps 27 or 28, with dark hair visible beneath his hat and intense blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. A days-old beard shadowed his jaw. "That hole is either for someone else or for you, and I do not see any other bodies around. I said go away." Sarah gripped the shovel tighter, though whether as a weapon or a lifeline she was not sure. "Please, just leave me alone." He stopped about 10 feet away, close enough that she could see the concern etched into his features. "Cannot do that, miss. My conscience would not let me sleep another night knowing I rode past someone in need." "You do not understand," Sarah said, and hated how her voice broke. "There is nothing for me. No future, no hope, no way forward. This is the only choice I have left. That is where you are wrong." He took another careful step closer, his hands visible and empty at his sides. "There are always choices, always another path. Maybe you cannot see it right now because you are standing too close to the edge, but I promise you it exists. What would you know about it?" The words came out bitter and sharp. "You are just some cowboy passing through. You know nothing about me or what I have endured." "My name is Benjamin Cole," he said quietly. "And you are right. I do not know your story, but I know what desperation looks like because I have worn it myself. 3 years ago, I lost everything I owned in a drought that killed my entire herd. Lost my ranch, my reputation, my future. Stood at the edge of a cliff one night with every intention of jumping." Sarah stared at him, the shovel still clutched in her bleeding hands. "What stopped you?" an old Apache woman who happened to be gathering herbs nearby. She did not speak much English, and I did not speak much Apache, but she sat with me all night anyway, kept me company, shared her water and dried meat. When the sun came up, she pointed east and said one word I understood: tomorrow. That was all, just tomorrow, and I realized that if I ended it then, there would be no tomorrow to see if things got better. And did they, Sarah asked, get better? Some days yes, some days no, but I am still here to find out. He held out his hand. Please, put down the shovel, come here. Let me help you. Something in his voice, in the genuine concern in those blue eyes, cracked the wall Sarah had built around herself. The shovel slipped from her nerveless fingers and fell to the ground with a soft thump. Her knees buckled, and suddenly Benjamin was there, catching her before she hit the dirt, his arms strong and steady around her trembling frame. I have you, he murmured. I have you. You are safe now. Sarah did not remember much of the next few hours. Benjamin lifted her onto his horse, settled behind her to keep her from falling, and rode slowly back toward Colfax. He spoke quietly as they traveled, his voice a low rumble against her back, though she could not focus on the words. Everything felt distant and unreal, like she was watching it happen to someone else. They stopped at a creek where he helped her down and gently cleaned the dirt and blood from her hands, wrapping them in clean cloth he produced from his saddlebag. He gave her water, small sips at first, then let her drink deeper when her body demanded it. When did you last eat? He asked. I do not remember. 4 days, maybe 5. He nodded and retrieved some jerky and hard biscuits from his supplies. Slowly, he warned as she reached for them. Your stomach will rebel if you eat too fast after going without. She forced herself to take small bites, though every instinct screamed at her to devour everything in sight. The food sat heavy in her shrunken stomach, but gradually gave her strength. Color returned to her face. The trembling in her limbs eased. Why are you doing this? She finally asked. You do not know me. I could be anyone. A criminal, a liar, a thief. Benjamin studied her for a long moment. You are a woman in trouble who needed help. That is all I need to know right now. The rest you can tell me when you are ready or not at all. Your choice. I have no money, Sarah said quietly. No way to repay you did I ask for payment. He stood and offered his hand again. Come on. Let's get you somewhere safe with a real bed and real food. We can sort out the rest later. Colfax was a small mining town clinging to existence in the foothills, the kind of place where people came to seek their fortune and usually left with less than they arrived with. The main street was dusty and lined with wooden buildings in various states of repair. A saloon, a general store, a boarding house, a small church, and a few other establishments competed for space with tents and makeshift structures. Benjamin guided his horse to the boarding house, a 2-story building that looked slightly more respectable than its neighbors. Wait here, he said, helping Sarah down before heading inside. She leaned against the hitching post, exhausted beyond measure, and tried not to think about what came next. Benjamin emerged a few minutes later with a middle-aged woman whose kind eyes took in Sarah's bedraggled appearance with concern but no judgment. I am Mrs. Henderson, she said warmly. Mr. Cole here has secured you a room and a hot bath. Let us get you settled, dear. The room was small but clean, with a real bed, a washstand, and a window that looked out over the mountains. 2 young men hauled in a copper tub and filled it with steaming water while Mrs. Henderson laid out soap and clean towels. Sarah wanted to cry at the simple luxury of it all. I will have some clothes sent up, Mrs. Henderson said. You look about my daughter's size. She moved to Sacramento last year, but I kept some of her things. No sense letting them go to waste. Thank you, Sarah whispered. Thank you so much. When they left her alone, Sarah stripped off her filthy, torn dress and sank into the hot water with a sigh that came from her very soul. She scrubbed away days of dirt and despair, carefully cleaning around her injured hands, and watched the water turn gray and then brown. She soaked until the water grew cold, then dried off and found a simple calico dress laid out on the bed along with fresh undergarments and a cotton nightgown. Everything fit reasonably well. She braided her damp brown hair and sat on the edge of the bed, unsure what to do next. A soft knock came at the door. "It is Benjamin," his voice called. "Mrs. Henderson asked me to bring up some supper. May I come in?" Sarah opened the door to find him holding a tray laden with bread, butter, roasted chicken, potatoes, and carrots. The smell made her mouth water. "You look much better," he said, and she realized he had cleaned up too, though his clothes were the same. His hair was damp and combed back, his face freshly shaved. "May I sit while you eat? I want to make sure you are truly all right." They sat at the small table by the window, and Sarah ate slowly, savoring every bite while Benjamin watched with satisfaction. The food was simple but delicious, and she could feel strength returning to her body with each mouthful. "What happens now?" she asked when the plate was nearly empty. Benjamin leaned back in his chair. "Now you rest. Tomorrow, when you are stronger, we talk about your options. But tonight you sleep in a real bed without fear or worry. Can you do that?" "I do not know how to repay you for all this," Sarah said. "The room, the food, the clothes, I have nothing." "Then consider it a gift with no strings attached." His blue eyes held her steadily. "Everyone deserves a second chance, Sarah. That is your name, is it not? I heard Mrs. Henderson use it, Sarah Garrett, and you are Benjamin Cole. Call me Ben. All my friends do. Are we friends then?" She managed a small smile, the first in weeks. "I hope we might be, or at least headed in that direction." He stood and moved toward the door. "Get some rest now. I am in the room next door if you need anything at all. Do not hesitate to knock." Sarah slept for 14 hours straight, her exhausted body finally able to let go in the safety of that small room. When she woke, sunlight was streaming through the window and someone had left a tray with breakfast outside her door. Bread, butter, jam, coffee, and eggs. She ate sitting by the window, watching the town come to life below. Miners heading to their claims, women sweeping porches, children running through the street, ordinary life continuing all around her. Another knock came at mid-morning. "It is Ben. Are you up for a conversation?" She opened the door to find him looking rested and concerned. "Come in, and thank you again for breakfast." They sat across from each other, and Ben folded his hands on the table. "I do not want to press, but if you are willing to tell me what brought you to that canyon yesterday, it might help me understand how best to help you move forward." Sarah took a deep breath and told him everything. About running away from Missouri with Thomas, believing his promises of a better life in California. About how those promises had proved hollow, how Thomas had been a gambler and a drinker who spent more than he earned. About how he had gotten into debt with dangerous men, how he had been shot 3 weeks ago leaving her alone with those debts. About how the men had come calling, expecting her to work off what Thomas owed in ways that made her physically ill. About how she had run with nothing but the clothes on her back, had walked for days with no food or water, had finally decided that dying was better than what awaited her. Ben listened without interruption, his expression growing darker as she spoke. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "These men who claim you owe them," he finally said. "Do they know you are in Colfax? I do not think so. I walked cross-country, avoided the main roads. They may not even be looking. I am nobody, nothing worth the effort of searching for." "You are not nobody," Ben said firmly, "and you are worth everything. Do not let what Thomas did or what those men wanted make you believe otherwise." He stood and paced to the window. "I have a proposition for you. Hear me out before you answer." Sarah nodded, her heart beating faster. "I own a small ranch about 10 miles outside town. Nothing fancy, just a house, a barn, some grazing land. I am trying to rebuild my herd after that drought I mentioned. It is hard work, and I have been managing alone, but I could use help. Cooking, cleaning, tending the garden, caring for the chickens and the few animals I have. Basic ranch work. In exchange, I offer room, board, and a small wage. Nothing that would make you rich, but enough to start saving toward your own future. You would trust me in your home. After everything I told you, you did nothing wrong, Sarah. You made the mistake of trusting the wrong man. That does not make you untrustworthy." He turned to face her. "I am offering honest work for honest pay. No strings attached, no expectations beyond doing the job. You would have your own space, your own privacy. I would respect that absolutely. If after a time you decide you want to move on, find something else, I would help you do that. But at least it gives you a safe place to land while you figure out what comes next." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. "Why are you being so kind to me?" "Because someone was kind to me when I needed it most," Ben said simply. "Because I believe people deserve second chances. Because when I look at you, I see someone worth saving." He cleared his throat, looking slightly embarrassed. "Also, I truly do need the help. I am a terrible cook and my house looks like a tornado hit it." Despite everything, Sarah laughed. It felt strange, rusty, like she had forgotten how. "When would this start?" "Whenever you are ready. Tomorrow, next week, your choice. Mrs. Henderson said you can stay here as long as needed." "I already paid for a week." "You did not have to do that." "I know, I wanted to." Ben moved back to the table. "So what do you say? Will you at least consider it?" Sarah thought about her options. She could strike out on her own, but she had no money, no connections, no resources. She could try to find work in town, but jobs for women were scarce and often exploitative. Or she could trust this man who had saved her life, who was offering her a lifeline with no apparent ulterior motive. It felt too good to be true, which made her cautious, but looking into his honest blue eyes, she could not see deception there, only genuine concern and kindness. "Yes," she said quietly. "Yes, I will work for you. Thank you, Ben." His face broke into a wide smile that transformed his whole appearance, making him look younger and lighter. "You will not regret this. I promise I will do everything I can to make sure you feel safe and comfortable." They spent the rest of the day making arrangements. Ben took her to the general store where he purchased supplies she would need: boots that fit properly, work clothes suitable for ranch life, and a hat to protect her from the sun. He introduced her to the townspeople they encountered, presenting her as his new ranch hand in a way that brooked no gossip or speculation. She could see the respect people had for him in how they responded, in the way they welcomed her without question because he vouched for her. That evening, over dinner at the boarding house, Ben told her about his ranch. It is called the Coal Creek Ranch, named for the creek that runs through the property. My father started it 30 years ago, and I inherited it when he passed 5 years back. My mother had already died, and I was an only child, so it all came to me. I was doing well until that drought. Lost over 200 head of cattle. Nearly lost the land too, but I managed to hold on by doing odd jobs, hiring out as a ranch hand to neighbors, whatever brought in money. Now I am rebuilding slowly. Have about 30 head currently, hoping to double that by next year." "It sounds like you love it," Sarah said. "I do. It is hard work, sometimes backbreaking, and the payoff is never guaranteed. One bad season can wipe you out. But there is something about working the land, raising animals, being part of that cycle of life that feeds people. It feels meaningful, you know. like I am contributing something real to the world." Sarah found herself fascinated by the passion in his voice, by the way his whole face lit up when he talked about his dreams for the ranch. Thomas had never talked about anything with such genuine enthusiasm. His focus had always been on quick money, easy wins, shortcuts to wealth. Ben clearly believed in hard work and building something lasting. "What about you?" Ben asked. "What did you dream of doing before life took you off course?" No one had asked her that in so long that Sarah had to think. "I wanted to teach," she finally said. "I loved school, loved reading and learning. I thought maybe I could run a small school, help children discover books and knowledge. But that was a long time ago, before everything happened." "It does not have to stay in the past," Ben said gently. "Colfax does not have a proper school. Just whoever is willing to teach children whenever they can spare time from work. If you wanted, once you are settled, you could start something, even just a few hours a week. I am sure parents would be grateful." The idea planted itself in Sarah's mind like a seed. Maybe she could have that dream after all. Maybe not right away, but someday. The thought gave her hope, fragile and new but real. They rode out to the ranch 2 days later, after Sarah had rested and regained more of her strength. The journey took a few hours on horseback, winding through foothills dotted with scrub brush and wildflowers. The landscape was beautiful in a harsh way, all hard edges and unforgiving terrain, but also vast and free. Sarah could see why Ben loved it. The ranch house was a simple wood structure, larger than a cabin but smaller than the grand home she had seen in Missouri. It had a covered porch, shuttered windows, and a stone chimney. The barn stood about 50 yards away, weathered but solid. A chicken coop, a small garden plot gone mostly to weeds, a well with a working pump, and several corrals completed the setup. Mountains rose in the distance, purple and majestic against the blue sky. "It is not much," Ben said, suddenly sounding uncertain, "but it is home." "It is wonderful," Sarah said honestly. The ranch had a peaceful feeling, like a place where she could catch her breath and heal. Ben showed her around the house first. The main room served as kitchen, dining area, and living space with a stone fireplace, a wood-burning stove, a table with chairs, and a worn sofa. 2 bedrooms opened off the main room, plus a small storage area. Everything was exactly as messy as Ben had warned, with dishes piled in the dry sink, clothes draped over furniture, and dust coating every surface. "The smaller bedroom is yours," Ben said, opening the door to reveal a modest space with a bed, dresser, and window. "I cleaned it up some, put fresh linens on the bed. There is a lock on the inside of the door. I want you to feel completely secure here." That detail, small but significant, made Sarah's throat tight with gratitude. "Thank you. That means more than you know." They spent the afternoon organizing. Ben showed her where everything was kept, how the stove worked, where the food stores were, and explained the daily routine. Rise at dawn, tend the animals, work on whatever tasks were most pressing, break for meals, more work until dark. Sundays off for rest and personal time. "I do not expect you to do everything," he emphasized. "We will split the work. I'm not hiring you as a servant but as a partner in keeping this place running. We figure it out together." That night, Sarah cooked her first meal in the ranch house: beans, cornbread, and salt pork. Simple fare, but Ben ate like it was a feast, complimenting her cooking until she blushed. After dinner, they sat on the porch watching the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. "I cannot believe this is real," Sarah said softly. 4 days ago, I was digging my own grave. Now I am sitting here watching this beautiful sunset, feeling safe for the first time in 2 years. How did everything change so fast? Life can turn on a moment, Ben said. "For bad or for good. You just happened to catch a good turn this time. Because of you. You gave me this good turn." He glanced at her, his expression serious in the fading light. "I am glad I rode through that canyon when I did. I do not want to think about what would have happened if I had taken a different route." "Do you believe in fate?" Sarah asked. "That things happen for a reason. I do not know. Maybe. Or maybe we make our own fate by the choices we make, and I chose to stop and help." He stood and stretched. "Either way, I am grateful you are here. I think this is going to work out well for both of us." As the days turned into weeks, Sarah settled into life at Coal Creek Ranch. She threw herself into the work, cleaning the house from top to bottom, reviving the garden, learning to care for the chickens and the handful of cows Ben owned. Her hands, which had been so damaged from digging that hole, healed and grew calloused from honest labor. She grew stronger, healthier, and the haunted look faded from her eyes. Ben was true to his word in every respect. He never made her feel uncomfortable, never crossed any boundaries, and always treated her with respect and kindness. They worked side by side during the day and talked in the evenings, sharing stories of their pasts and dreams for the future. Sarah learned that Ben had a dry sense of humor that could make her laugh unexpectedly, that he was passionate about breeding better cattle, that he loved reading but rarely had time for it. Ben learned that Sarah had a gift for growing things, that she could recite poetry from memory, that she had a beautiful singing voice she rarely used anymore. Something was growing between them beyond employer and employee, beyond even friendship, though neither spoke of it directly. It showed in small ways. The way Ben's face lit up when he came in from the fields and saw her. The way Sarah always made sure his coffee was exactly how he liked it. The way they had started sitting closer together on the porch in the evenings, their shoulders almost touching. The way they both found excuses to be near each other throughout the day. 2 months after Sarah arrived at the ranch, she rode into Colfax with Ben to pick up supplies. While he was at the feed store, she wandered into the general store and overheard 2 women talking. "Did you hear Benjamin Cole took in a woman at his ranch, living out there alone together, unmarried? It is scandalous. I heard she was some kind of fallen woman, probably his mistress." Sarah felt her face flush with anger and shame. She wanted to confront them, to defend herself and Ben, but instead she slipped out of the store and waited by the wagon. Ben found her there, her arms wrapped around herself, looking miserable. "What happened?" he asked immediately. She told him, her voice shaking. "I am sorry. I did not think about how it would look, me living at your ranch. I am ruining your reputation." Ben's jaw tightened. "You have nothing to apologize for. Those gossips have nothing better to do than make up stories about people they do not know. Anyone with sense can see you are working for me, earning an honest living. Let them talk. But it is not fair to you. You saved my life, gave me a fresh start, and now people are saying terrible things because of me." "Sarah, look at me." He waited until she met his eyes. "I do not care what they say. I know the truth. You know the truth. That is what matters." But Sarah could see the concern beneath his anger. She knew how important reputation was, especially in small towns. People remembered scandal long after they forgot kindness. The last thing she wanted was to damage Ben's standing in the community when he had done so much for her. That evening they sat on the porch in unusual silence. Finally, Ben spoke. "There is one way to stop the gossip completely," he said slowly. "We could get married." Sarah's heart jumped into her throat. "What? Hear me out. I am not proposing a real marriage, not exactly. But if we married, even just on paper, it would silence all the talk. You would be my wife, which is completely respectable. You could continue living and working here without anyone questioning it. Ben, I cannot ask you to do that, Marriage is a serious commitment. You should not throw it away on a pretend arrangement just to protect my reputation. Who says it would be pretend? The words hung in the air between them. Ben took a deep breath. Sarah, I need to be honest with you. These past 2 months have been the best I have had in years. I look forward to waking up every day because I know I will see you. I look forward to meals because we will share them together. I look forward to evening because we will sit here and talk. You have brought life back to this ranch and to me. I care about you, deeply. More than I probably should, given our arrangement. Ben, Sarah whispered, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. I am not asking you to love me back, he continued quickly. I know you have been through too much, that you may never want to risk your heart again after what Thomas did, but I am asking if you might consider building a life with me anyway. A real partnership. Real marriage. We already work well together. We respect each other. We enjoy each other's company. That is more than many marriages start with. The rest might come in time or it might not, but at least you would have security and safety and someone who genuinely cares about your well-being. Sarah's mind raced. She did care for Ben, had grown to care for him more than she wanted to admit. He made her feel valued and protected and seen in ways Thomas never had. When she imagined leaving the ranch, finding somewhere else to go, her heart ached at the thought of not seeing Ben every day. But was that love? Or just gratitude and comfort? I do not know what to say, she admitted. You have given me so much already, it feels wrong to take even more from you. You would not be taking. You would be giving. Your partnership, your presence, your company. Those things matter to me, Sarah. They have value beyond measure. He shifted to face her fully. I am not a man who speaks fancy words or makes grand romantic gestures. I am just a simple rancher who knows a good thing when he sees it. You are a good thing, the best thing that has happened to me. If you can see your way to staying permanently, to being my wife, I promise I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. I care about you too, so much. I was afraid to acknowledge it because I thought caring about someone again would destroy me. But you are nothing like Thomas. You are kind and honorable and good. You make me want to trust again, to hope again. I just do not know if I can be the wife you deserve. I am so broken, Ben. You are not broken. You are healing. There is a difference. He reached out slowly and took her hand, the first time he had really touched her since that day in the canyon. His palm was warm and calloused, strong and steady. We can heal together, build something good together. What do you say? Sarah looked down at their joined hands, then up at his earnest face. In his eyes, she saw patience and hope and genuine affection. She thought about the past 2 months, how safe she had felt, how happy she had been despite all the work and challenges. She thought about a future here, waking up every day to this beautiful harsh land, to this good man, building something lasting and real. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I will marry you. Ben's face transformed with joy. He squeezed her hand gently. You will not regret this, I swear it. I already do not regret it. They married a week later in the small church in Colfax, with Mrs. Henderson and the shopkeeper as witnesses. Sarah wore a simple blue dress that Mrs. Henderson helped her make, and Ben wore his best suit, cleaned and pressed for the occasion. The ceremony was short and traditional, and when the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Ben kissed her gently, chastely on the lips. It was Sarah's first kiss that felt like a promise rather than a demand. The gossip stopped immediately, just as Ben had predicted. Now Sarah was Mrs. Cole, a respectable married woman, and the townspeople welcomed her warmly. Several women who had whispered about her before now invited her to quilting circles and church socials. Sarah accepted graciously, even as she privately found their hypocrisy amusing. Life at the ranch continued much as before. Except now, Sarah slept in Ben's room rather than the spare. He was patient and gentle with her, never pushing her beyond what she was comfortable with, letting their physical relationship develop naturally. Sarah had expected to feel trapped by marriage, suffocated by it after her experience with Thomas, but instead she felt free. Free to be herself, to make mistakes, to learn and grow. Ben treated her as an equal partner in every decision, from what crops to plant to what cattle to buy to how to spend their small savings. As autumn arrived and the weather cooled, Sarah realized she was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way she had never been before. She loved the rhythm of ranch life, the satisfaction of seeing things grow and thrive under her care. She loved the landscape, harsh and beautiful in equal measure. Most of all, she loved Ben, though it took her months to recognize the feeling for what it was. It was not the wild, desperate passion she had felt for Thomas. It was steadier, deeper, built on friendship and respect and shared purpose. It was waking up next to him and feeling safe. It was working alongside him and feeling capable. It was sitting on the porch in the evenings and feeling content. One night in late October, as they lay in bed together, Sarah turned to Ben and said, "I love you." He had been nearly asleep, but his eyes opened immediately. "What? I love you," she repeated, clearer and more certain. "I did not think I could love again, did not think I even knew what real love was. But I do now. This is it. You are it." Ben pulled her close, his arms tight around her. "I have loved you since the moment I saw you in that canyon, so determined and so lost at the same time. Every day since has only made me love you more." They held each other in the darkness, two people who had been broken finding wholeness together. Winter came hard and fast that year, with snow blanketing the foothills and temperatures dropping below freezing for weeks at a time. Sarah and Ben worked together to keep the animals safe and fed, to keep the house warm, to keep each other's spirits up when the isolation and cold became overwhelming. They spent long evenings by the fire, reading aloud to each other from the few books they owned, playing cards, talking about everything and nothing. During one particularly brutal storm that kept them housebound for 3 days, Ben taught Sarah to play chess using a set his father had carved years ago. She proved to be a quick learner and beat him soundly by the second day, much to his surprise and delight. "You are ruthless," he said, staring at the board in disbelief. "I should have known not to underestimate you. You should have known that from the beginning," Sarah teased. "I survived things that would have broken most people. A chess game is nothing." "Fair point." He reset the board. Rematch. Spring finally arrived in March of 1885, melting the snow and bringing new life to the ranch. Sarah planted an ambitious garden, started breeding the chickens intentionally to improve the flock, and began teaching 3 children from neighboring ranches basic reading and arithmetic, 2 afternoons a week. Ben increased his herd to 50 head and started planning for future expansion. They were building something together, exactly as Ben had promised. The ranch was thriving, and so was their marriage. Sarah had gained weight and color, her hair shone with health, and her eyes sparkled with life. Ben seemed lighter too, less burdened by the weight of managing everything alone. They complemented each other perfectly, each bringing strengths that balanced the other's weaknesses. In May, Sarah realized she had missed her monthly courses twice. She waited another week to be sure before telling Ben. They were in the barn, checking on a cow that was due to calf soon when she worked up the courage. "Ben, I need to tell you something." He looked up from examining the cow. "What is it? You look nervous." "I think I might be with child. I am almost certain, actually." Ben froze, his face cycling through shock, joy, and wonder. "A baby. We are going to have a baby." "Yes. Are you happy about it?" Happy. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides and lifted her off the ground, spinning her around before setting her down carefully. I am beyond happy. This is incredible, Sarah. A baby, our baby. Sarah laughed, relief flooding through her. I was worried you might think it was too soon, that we were not ready. No one is ever truly ready, but we will figure it out together, just like we figure out everything else. He placed his hand gently on her still flat stomach. Hello in there, little one. Your mama and papa are very excited to meet you. The pregnancy progressed smoothly through the summer months. Sarah continued working on the ranch as long as she could, though Ben became increasingly protective and insisted she avoid anything too strenuous. He took over more of her usual tasks and brought her endless glasses of water and made sure she rested in the afternoon. His concern was endearing, even when it bordered on excessive. The women in town rallied around Sarah, sharing advice and hand-me-down baby clothes and offers to help when the time came. Mrs. Henderson organized a small party in Sarah's honor where the women showered her with gifts they had made. A cradle, blankets, tiny gowns, booties. Sarah was overwhelmed by their generosity and acceptance. She was truly part of the community now, no longer the mysterious outsider but one of their own. In early December, as snow began falling again, Sarah went into labor. Ben rode frantically to fetch the midwife, then paced the house anxiously while the midwife and Mrs. Henderson attended to Sarah. The labor was long and difficult, lasting through the night and into the next day. Ben wore a path in the floorboards with his pacing, jumping at every sound from the bedroom. Finally, just as dawn broke on December 7th, a baby's cry rang out. The midwife emerged, smiling. You have a son, Mr. Cole, a healthy, strong boy. Your wife did beautifully. Ben rushed into the bedroom to find Sarah propped up against pillows, exhausted but radiant, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in blankets. She looked up at him with tears streaming down her face. We have a son, she whispered. Look at him, Ben. He is perfect. Ben sat carefully on the edge of the bed and looked down at the small red face peeking out from the blankets. Tiny features, a shock of dark hair, eyes squeezed shut. His son. His and Sarah's son. The emotion that overwhelmed him was so intense he could barely breathe. He is perfect, Ben agreed, his voice rough. Just like his mother. They named him James Robert Cole after Ben's father and Sarah's father, Jamie for short. He was a good baby, healthy and hungry, and he quickly became the center of their world. Sarah nursed him and sang to him and marveled at every tiny change. Ben carved toys for him and read to him from books Jamie was far too young to understand and carried him around the ranch, showing him everything and explaining how it all worked. He cannot understand you, Sarah said, amused, watching Ben give Jamie a detailed explanation of fence mending. He will eventually. I am just getting him ready, Ben replied seriously. The first year of Jamie's life flew by in a blur of sleepless nights and first smiles and first teeth and first words. The ranch continued to prosper. Ben's herd grew to nearly 100 head, and they expanded the house to add a proper nursery and another bedroom for future children. Sarah's teaching had expanded to 8 students, and she was discussing with other parents the possibility of building a real schoolhouse in town. On a warm evening in September of 1886, Sarah and Ben sat on the porch watching the sunset while Jamie played with blocks at their feet. Nearly 2.5 years had passed since that day in the canyon. Do you ever think about that day? Ben asked quietly. The day we met. Sometimes, Sarah admitted. It feels like a lifetime ago, like it happened to a different person. In a way, it did. You are not the same woman I found in that canyon, and I am not the same man who rode through it. We are better versions, Sarah said. Together we are better than we were apart. That is the truth. Ben reached over and took her hand. "I think about what I would have missed if I had taken a different route that day. This life, you, Jamie, all of it. It terrifies me to think how close we both came to missing it. But we did not miss it. We found each other exactly when we needed to. That has to mean something." Jamie toddled over and climbed into Ben's lap, and Ben wrapped his arms around his son while keeping hold of Sarah's hand. They sat together as the sky turned from blue to orange to purple, a family born from desperation and kindness, from second chances and choosing to live instead of giving up. Years passed. Jamie grew into a bright, curious boy who loved helping on the ranch and learning from his mother. 2 more children followed, a daughter named Elizabeth in 1888 and another son named Michael in 1891. The Coal Creek Ranch continued to expand and prosper, becoming one of the most successful cattle operations in the region. Sarah finally got her schoolhouse built in Colfax in 1890, and she taught there 3 days a week, instilling in dozens of children the love of learning she had always possessed. Ben and Sarah's love deepened with time, weathering challenges and celebrating triumphs together. They faced droughts and harsh winters, sick animals and difficult births, financial struggles and physical hardships. Through it all, they held fast to each other and to the life they had built together. Their children grew up surrounded by love and purpose, learning the value of hard work and kindness from their parents' example. On their 10th wedding anniversary in 1895, Ben surprised Sarah with a locket containing a tiny photograph of their family. On the back, he had inscribed, "Because you chose tomorrow." Sarah wore it every day for the rest of her life, a reminder of how close she had come to losing everything and how grateful she was that a cowboy had ridden through a canyon at exactly the right moment and told her to put down the shovel and come here. That simple command had saved her life and given her a future more beautiful than anything she had dared to dream during her darkest hour. They grew old together on the ranch, surrounded by their children and eventually their grandchildren. Jamie took over the ranching operations as Ben's health declined, but Ben remained involved and active, still finding joy in the land and the animals and the work. Sarah continued teaching as long as she was able, then spent her later years reading to her grandchildren and tending her beloved garden. On a quiet evening in the spring of 1920, nearly 36 years after they met, Ben and Sarah sat on the porch of the ranch house, their hands intertwined as they had been countless times before. Their hair was white now, their faces lined with age, but their eyes still held the same warmth and love they had discovered all those years ago in the California foothills. "I would not change a single thing," Sarah said softly. "Not one moment of this life we built together." "Neither would I," Ben agreed. "Best decision I ever made was telling you to put down that shovel. Best decision I ever made was listening." They sat together watching the sun set over the mountains. 2 people who had found each other at the edge of despair and chosen to build something beautiful instead. Their story became part of the Cole family legacy, passed down through generations as a testament to the power of compassion, second chances, and choosing life even in the darkest moments. The ranch still stood decades later, a physical reminder that sometimes the most meaningful encounters happen when we are brave enough to stop and help someone in need, and wise enough to accept help when it is offered.